Hey, welcome to the conversation that's as diverse as the dogs that we adore. This is Gun Dogs and Guard Dogs, ultimate podcast dedicated to talking sense about dogs with Les Graham and Ross McCarthy. They work with all breeds of dog, but one specialises in gun dogs and the other prefers guard dogs. No flashy trends or social media hype here, just tried and true knowledge that stands the test of time. They bring you valuable insights and honest conversations about the social predator you share your home with. So here we go. About 45 minutes of gun dogs, guard dogs, good dogs, some maybe not so good dogs, and a dash of gossip.
So here we are today, joined by star of stage and screen, Mr. Mick Martin from Hertfordshire Dog School and Canine Effects? Film Dogs?
Yeah, Canine Effects Film Dogs.
Brilliant.
Cool.
It's so good to have you here. Honestly, I've been trying to get you on this podcast for ages.
Well, I hope I can do it justice.
Oh, I'm sure you will. It's great to have you here. And can we always start with why dogs? How did you get into dogs? Oh God, my phone's still on. I'm really sorry.
I'll just make sure
turn it off.
mine's up. How did it start?
Yeah, how did you get into
So
dogs?
I grew up in Germany, and my mum was a keen dog enthusiast. She used to breed dogs and do a little bit of training, maybe not as sort of intense as I always try and make out, but she used to be quite a good little trainer. And later on, when I joined the police, I, on my initial interview, mentioned the fact that, I'd grown up around dogs and dog section would be something that maybe in the future I'd look at, which actually proved really well for me because 10 years down the line, when I actually did do, no, not 10, about 6 years down the line, when I had the interview, they said, you're the only person on this board who actually mentioned being a dog handler when you first started. So, Germany was the first port of call, really. Then we had dogs at home. And I've said this before, I wasn't really interested. I was more interested in football. So I can't really say I wanted to do dog training or anything. My mum did, and she, like I said, she used to make the dogs do all sorts of stuff. What we would maybe regard as trick training now. But back then, 60s, she was good, the dogs didn't pull. And people used to ask her, how did you get the dog to do that? And how did you get, there was always people asking them questions. And I just said, I'm just messages coming up. I just said I wasn't really interested. Football was my thing. But Germany, that's a good start.
So you didn't join the police to be a dog handler? That wasn't the...
No, not really. No, I think initially I was thinking maybe more detective lines, that sort of thing. Then I realised that, the working end of it was probably out on the street rather than detection. It all changes, when you first go in and then you realise which direction you want to go to. My dream job was joining the patrol group. And you get selected to go on the patrol group by members of the patrol group. So, they get a list of people and they go, oh, yeah, I don't like this bloke or whatever, because you're working together on the tight team. So when I got selected for that, that was probably the highlight of my career, other than when I went on the section. So you do a lot of things on that. You do a detective course, drugs detection, you do all the raids, you're armed, you're on the special unit. If there's a job elsewhere, like in London or whatever, you go to back them up, because all the special patrol groups were all trained the same way. And then there was an incident in London at a big riot, and because of that, the patrol groups were a bit frowned on, so the government of the day disbanded us all. So at that time, I'd done quite a lot of drug searches with the dog handlers, and I got on really well with them. And I thought, drugs dog, that'd be like the dream job after this. And then I applied to go on the section. And the dog section's also run by the same team as the patrol group. You've got the same bosses. It's all based at headquarters. And some people said, well, yeah, I was favourite because I'd already worked with the same guys, but you still go through the same rigmarole, the board. There was 32 applied when I got the job. So nowadays there's maybe 3 or 4 will apply. It's not the job it was, even though the guys, they do the same job and they enjoy what they do. They don't want to have the dog at home. They don't want to live in a specific house in a specific area like we all did. Back in the day, you had to be married. You couldn't, be a single. We had one single person join just after me, but at the time you had to be a married man actually. And then we had Jo turned up, the girl. She started with me, and she changed everything because she became the first Explo search female dog handler. And so now it's a little bit more open. Mm-hmm. You don't have to live in a police house.
I was going to say, because I can remember when I was growing up, there was a police house on virtually every estate.
Yeah. We had. I had to sell my house. Really, I didn't have to, but it proved really difficult, and financially, it was a bit of a drop down, really, because we had an allowance, that we used to get. Well, that all went, but we got the house, and I used to live next to another dog handler. So if I was away, he'd look after my dog, and if he was away, I'd look after his. They didn't go in kennels or anything. You had to just look after each other's dogs, and you shared a van and all that. But it was great times. There was actually a block of 4 and a block of 6 houses, and 4 of those were dog handlers. So we had our own little section, and everyone in the village loved it because there was never any trouble in our village.
I bet. And do the police dogs not live at home now?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but you don't have to live in a specific house. And
okay.
You also, now you don't get the van at home. You have to drive to the station or to headquarters or wherever it is and pick up a van. So you have to have a specific car now, like an estate or whatever. So and the allowances aren't the same. So you've got to be dedicated to do it.
How many dogs were on the section when you were?
24.
24. And do you know what it's like now?
It's dropped down. So in our force, Hertfordshire, we joined up with Beds and Cambridge. So it's Herts, Beds and Cambridge unit. And they've probably only got the same now between 3 counties.
Wow.
I mean, I know a story of, that area quite well. There was a dog handler in Watford who got sent to the other side of Ely, which is ridiculous. I used to moan if I went from Stevenage to Hatfield, which is 12 miles down the A1M. But these guys are doing, in excess of 200, 250, 300 miles a night.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then think about it, Ross, from your tracking time, if you're doing a TD or something, it's 3 hours. Well, if it's going to take you 2 hours to get to a job and the track is in the town centre, how far could you get? I used to say this to people. How far could you get in 2 hours? Well, I could get from here to Luton Airport. I could get a quick pass through and I could be on the plane to Malaga.
Mm-hmm.
Want me to find the guy who's just waiting for me to turn up.
Yeah.
If you can get there quick, within 5-10 minutes, you've got a chance of catching someone.
No, I'm not sure now, like with sort of the operational dogs and stuff, I'm not sure they want the dogs to find someone, do they? Because of all the paperwork and all the God knows what else.
No, that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed. Most of us who joined the dog section were absolutely crap at paperwork, and we didn't want to do it. We just want to do the job, do a quick 5 lines and naff off to the next job. But we didn't join the dog section to do loads and loads of paperwork.
No. When did you leave? When did you leave the police?
2000. So I got injured quite badly. I had a serious knee injury. I've got 3 screws in my right knee, 64 stitches. I had, how long was it? I think it was a 5-hour operation on my knee. So I went to a really rubbish abstraction burglary where the guy knocks on the door, the old guy opens the door, he distracts him while the other bloke goes around the back. In my statements, I remember I wrote something like, they stole £1.50 worth of junk, basically, which finished my career. the bad bit was that he rumbled the bloke out the back, and the first guy punched him in the face and knocked him to the ground. So I was actually at an armed robbery, but just down the road, and they'd got away in a car, so I couldn't do anything. So I drove quickly around the corner, did a track, picked them up straight away, and they went into a building site. I climbed up the fence, lifted the bottom up, the dog went underneath. I climbed on top of the fence, and the fence broke. But my right foot, was in a hole about 4 foot off the ground, and I couldn't get my boot out. So the fence went over, I went over. So all of this bit was facing that way, and all of the knee was facing that way. So I had a full pivot of the kneecap. So I was hanging on the fence.
Where was your dog?
I know, what about the dog?
So this was the worst part. And this is the bit, and I've said this loads of times. The worst part was the dog went after the two guys, and I could hear the dog, and I had to call him back, because I know from the way it was going that if he'd nailed those two guys and if he'd hurt them, I would have technically not been in control, because I was hanging on a fence, and they would have put the dog down. Politically, they would have said, oh, he wasn't in control and the dog bit the bloke. So I called the dog back. He lay down. I pulled my foot out, hit the deck. Then I had to ask for help, and which I hated, because I didn't even work in that town. I was covering for someone who was on holiday. I didn't really know that many people in that town. And the guys turned up. I said, you'll have to get my van, but don't come over here, because if you come over here, he's going to put you in hospital. So they got the van, reversed it, and then sheepishly opened the back. I did a send away, sent him to the van, and they shut the door and then took me to hospital. So it was all doom and gloom. And the first bit was, oh no, I'm going to lose the dogs. Then I realised it was more serious and thought, oh, they're going to kick me out of the job. Then I thought, sod the job, I'm not going to walk again properly without a stick. So I put my priorities in the right order, which was get fit, get walking, then get running, and then try and get back. So it took 9 months to do all the first part. And I started working in the office. I was running the section at the time and doing all the paperwork. And I should have probably stayed there. But after a year, I applied to go back out. And I shouldn't have done that because I did a course, which was really hard. I wore a brace. I went out, and within 3 weeks, I jumped off a railway platform, and one of the screws moved. Ooh. And my knee went like that, and I had to go back in. And then that time there was no coming back. So I did the office thing again for a very short time. And then we put all me and my wife, my daughter, sat down, and I said, I'm not going to sit in an office. I just can't do it. You know, it's just going to do me head in. And they offered me a good job. You know, there was going to be probably I'd get promoted, but basically answering the telephone for 5 years. So I had 25 in then, and you can go at 25. Could have gone anyway on a medical, but I wanted to sort of round it all off. Mm-hmm. And there was a little bit of good news, because during that year or two, I'd already made inroads to start working on films, and I'd made loads of contacts in the film industry, and I'd even done a couple of films, and with a different name, because you couldn't have another job. So I had my alter ego is a guy called Phil Thompson. I had cards and everything, and so I did a few films and said, I've got a mentor. He used to work at Monarch Airways at Luton. He's pretty much started it. Quite a well-to-do guy, very clever, good money man. Did a lot of football training with him. He was my assistant when I ran the football team. And what happened? He said to me, "What are you worried about?" I said, "Well, you know, what if people don't come?" He said, "Well, are you good at training?" I said, "Well, I think I'm all right, you know." He said, "Well, why wouldn't they come?" He said, "I'll help you with the advertising and everything, but just do it. You can't sit there answering the phone. You know, I know what you like. You've got to be outside. So that's what I did. Jacked it in, and just sat there. And just I'm one of those guys, and you probably know I get on really well with most people I meet. And someone phoned me up and said, "I understand you've jacked it in," and I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you want to?" There's a bit of an area at Leavesden Film Studios. Why don't you come up and ask if you can use it for training? So I went up, spoke to the guys. They said yes, but it's only on a 2-week sort of get out. If we need the land for a film or something, you've got to go. I was there 10 years. Wow. And the only reason we left was because Harry Potter had finished and they wanted to put houses on it. So I did 10 years there at Leavesden. And then the film stuff started coming in, and then the jobs abroad came in. Sounds a bit, I don't know, sounds a bit funny now. When you say these things, people sometimes don't believe you. I met an MI6 bloke on a job at Stately Home with the Prime Minister was there. We were doing protection, and we just hit it off, just talking, you know. And he gave me a card, and out of the blue, he phoned me up and said, "Do you fancy going abroad? You know, I've got this sheikh who wants some dogs trained." I said, "Yeah, why not?" You know, so I went abroad the first time. Then because of that, he got me to train their military police. So I went back again, set up a dog section, trained about 8 blokes. They've got 180 now on that section, all following my plan. And then I did about 3 other jobs with them abroad, which was good. Paid off my mortgage in one hit, which made up for not doing that last 5 years in the job. So financially, I was okay. Once you're financially okay, you can do whatever you want, because then you don't need the work. And when you don't need the work, you can tell the truth. So if someone turns up with a dog that's got loads of problems because they've created the problems, you can tell them the truth, because if they don't come back, so what? Mm-hmm. They usually do, but as a result of writing an article about life after the job, someone at the BBC read it and said, "Can we get this guy to train pets?" And then the knock on the door came. You know, they came to Leavesden and said, "What would you do, you know, about training pets?" And I said, "Well, I'll show you how I train them." And I had all my favourite customers there, and they made me look great, you know. So that went well. And then I went for the interview. So this is a story that people probably want to know. How did I get the job? So they interviewed your usual trainer types, you know, body warmer, facial hair problem, smelling a dog wee, that type of person.
Don't know what you're talking about. Never encountered.
The 3 of us really, you know, scout hut, 50 dogs, £2 a night. Sit there for 3/4 of the time and get up, offer them some cheese to walk backwards and forwards, and that's your lot. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they didn't get the job, strangely enough. And then I went in and I sat down. They showed you a film, did a little interview bit, and then they showed you a film of this 3 people. And I thought straight away, police. I had a notebook and I was making notes like I'm doing now. And I thought, right, these are actors. No one's that fucking stupid, are they? They wouldn't. There's no chance they're that stupid. They're actors, and they want me to react to it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to play their stupid game. So I said, "It's not real, though, is it?" She goes, "It is." I went, "But her boyfriend gave her a dog. She lives in a flat in central London. It pees all over her parquet flooring." She said the word parquet flooring 15 times. I don't even know the dog's name. She hasn't mentioned the dog once. It's all about her parquet flooring. And she's a young girl. She's in her 20s. She never takes it out. It pees and poops all over the flat. At the weekend, she can't go to her dad's because he's got carpet and he doesn't want the dog peeing and pooping. And so, what do you want me to do? And she says, "Well, just tell us, Mick, so tell us what sort of training techniques you'd use." And I said, "I'll tell you what I'd do. I'll punch her in the face, take the dog off her, and give it to a family who could really look after it. And they went, okay, well, we haven't heard that from anyone yet. So we don't want you to punch her in the face, but why would you take it off her? I said, because she doesn't want a dog. You can tell she doesn't want a dog. She wants to go out. You're telling me she works all week, doesn't go out Saturdays, doesn't go clubbing, doesn't go to the pub with her friends. The dog hasn't been out the flat since she's had it. So then it was the same sort of deal. And they said, oh, thank you very much. If you wait outside, we'll just have a chat. And I thought, what's the time? It's 2:00, and I've got a day return. If I leave at 3, I can go back home now. So this is just a waste of time. So I knocked on the door. I said, look, if you're going to bin me, can you do it now so I can get the train back home? Mm-hmm. And she said, no. We'll get one of the runners to take you down for some lunch. So go down to the canteen, come back. And they said, yeah, we really like what you said. And we want you to be the first trainer to go on this program. So if you did do it, how would you do it? And I said, right, we want to come at this in 3 different areas, because I thought it was just me. But they said, no, we've got a behaviourist, a pet trainer as such, and then me doing the police military stuff. So I said, right, first of all, my lot would all wear black. They would carry a rucksack with all their kit in it, which they would carry all the time. I wouldn't ask them to do anything. I would tell them to do stuff. If they do it wrong, they would get punishments for it, because it's basically not the dog's fault that they're rubbish. So we've got to train the handlers. It's not the dog. I mean, we could train the dog in an hour. Most of us, like you guys, you could train most of those dogs in record time. But the people, and of course, they got some characters, and the rest is history. So it was good fun. Yeah, we did loads that didn't go out because they didn't have the budget to do the post-production. And it was okay. It was easier for me because I'd been behind the camera for 20 odd major films, working with Warner Brothers, and going in front of the camera and being an actual show off. It was fairly simple, really, just answer the questions, do the stuff, and that was it. So I enjoyed that. The other thing that came with Dog Borstal was the charity work, because in my first year, I did about $1,000 in charity. By the time I'd done the 4th year, I was doing 15,000, so we were paying for whole dogs to be trained for Support Dogs UK. And unfortunately, those doors all closed. Once you're not on telly, and once you haven't got a name, or, once you're not out there all the time, you're finished. And Angela Rippon was the other person involved, and she's still very famous, so she still puts money and her time into the organization. But my time was finished, so I still recommend it, and I still do little bits. I used to do crofts every year, but like I said, once your name's off, then you're off, aren't you? So that's the sad part of it.
How long were you on Dog? How long was Dog Borstal on for?
We did 5 years. So like I said, we did loads on the first one, and it's weird how it works. They didn't know if it was going to work or not. So we filmed 2 at a time. So you would do Dave at 9 o'clock, and then you'd do Jane at 10 o'clock. So you do an hour with him and then an hour with her. And then they would be separate programs. And that was really weird because, and it was really low budget, same place and everything, but we didn't have anywhere near the type of, they wanted us to sleep in tents, and that was never going to happen. We slept in offices and stuff to start with. And then it was a massive hit. They used to get 1 million at 2 o'clock in the morning, when people came home drunk, and they said, we want to see that weird bloke make people do press-ups, put the telly on. We're getting 1 million at literally 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning on repeat. And the only thing that beat us on BBC Three was EastEnders repeat. That was the only thing that was higher than Dog Borstal on the telly. And so it was big. And you had all the people who really loved it. Obviously, you had your people who really hated me. And I didn't realise that was coming. I didn't realise it was going to be as bad as that. And I didn't realise how bad some of the punters were till when I watched it. I thought, they're slagging me off. I was really nice to them. So, I mean, I thought, I can't believe he's saying that. All the work I did for that guy. And then he's saying, you know, how sort of big-headed I was and all this. And I thought, I'm just not playing the game. And so then I knew how it worked. So second series, I said to them all, right, in the briefing, we have a week's run-up before we're there, the week before, and we're doing all the stuff. I said, whoever you send first, I'm telling you, whoever's coming through that door first is going to really get it, because he or she is going to get all the comments I've had. I know how to play the game now. No one's getting one over on me. And that's when I became, you know, this sort of no-nonsense guy. And the poor old girl who came first, she was bad. She had a Cocker Spaniel, average weight, what is it, 12 to 13? Hers was 23 kilos.
Ooh.
It was that big, massive. My hands are about 18 inches apart. It was so bad, I made it do a stand, and I put a plastic cup of water on its back like a table and just let go. And the water was just balanced on its big flat back.
Wow.
But she changed, you know, she did everything later on. She joined an agility club. The diet was a big part of it. And I'm sure you guys do exactly the same. I look at three main areas: breed-specific behaviour, I look at diet, and I look at canine-human interaction. How people interact with their dogs causes all the good stuff, all the bad stuff. And when all the other stuff that goes with it, you know, age when you get it, imprinting period, all of that stuff. But generally, breed-specific behaviour, don't treat a German Shepherd like a Chihuahua, and don't do it the other way around. So you've got to know your breeds. Diet, massive thing about diet. I'd probably do 30 minutes on diet if it's a poor diet, looking at all the additives, artificial colorants, all the rest of the stuff. And then if you can change that to something that's going to calm the dog down, a more natural diet, then you've started winning, haven't you? So the dog's calmer, the dog listens, and then off you go. So with this girl, yeah, I was a bit tough on her, but she's done really well. She took my advice and divorced her husband, who caused most of the problems. And I think
that's a true holistic approach, isn't it?
I think I'm on 5 divorces and about 6 separations at the moment. People say, "What, you?" I went, "No, not me. I've been married 43 years." No, the people I train. I said, "You know, it's all his fault, don't you? Just get rid of him, and the dog will be all right." And that's happened quite a lot. It's a shame that the ones that we filmed didn't get produced, but you know, they didn't have the budget for it. And because there was some good stories there, some real good backstories as well. There was a girl from Dartford, and her husband was, he was quite abusive to her and the dog. And strangely enough, I told her to get rid of him as well, and she did. She joined an agility club, and he did really well. The dog did. There was a little Jack Russell cross, and I taught it to search in an Explode style, and found a tennis ball inside a desk behind a load of boxes, and in 2 days, you know, and you think, blimey, you know, how good is this?
No. So when you were doing Borstal, you were just saying about, you know, obviously you became well known, didn't you? People would recognise you in the street,
yeah,
and stuff,
and stalkers.
Was it legit? What was it like for you? Because obviously people people would say things and be rude, and it must be quite difficult. So.
Do you know, the thing is, Ross, they never said it to my face. So, you know, going back to the old police days, I did have a bit of a reputation, and I used to do quite a lot of sports and stuff. And I always said, you know, if you come and say it to my face, I'll probably shake your hand, because you're the only one who's got the bottle to do it. And you used to get, you know, a lot of rubbishy emails and stuff like that. I mean, if it was Facebook and all that stuff now, if it was back then, it was just really starting, and I wasn't into it anyway. But I reckon I'd have been hammered, you know, proper hammered. Everyone's a trainer, isn't there? And I'll say it again. There's only one thing 3 dog trainers can agree on: there's only one thing is that the two dog trainers can agree on is that the third one's doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And so they're all dog trainers. How many dogs have you trained? 2. Okay, I've trained 6,500 in 5 different countries. So I don't want to say anymore. I must have seen something in the 6,500, and I've trained a guy who's done over 10. You know, he was my apprentice, and he's in his 10,000th dog. You know,
Wow.
At one stage he was seeing 500 clients a week. You know, at his school he had 10 trainers working for him. So yeah, it's not about numbers, it's about quality, isn't it? You know, and if people are coming back with their 3rd dog and now 4th dog over this 30-year period, it must be something that they like. So the ones who don't like what you do or what you say, they've got no knowledge anyway. I like to think that they wouldn't know the difference between Scott and Fuller, Pfaffenberger and Big Mac and Cheese. So what do I care?
Good way to be, isn't it?
Well, we loved Dog Borstal. What about, can I ask you about your film work as well? Because I didn't realise all the different films that you'd done. I have been on your website.
Yeah.
Did you find filming things like Batman and Harry Potter?
Batman was, sorry, Les, Batman was the biggest thing I'd done. Harry Potter, I suppose, it's up there because it's a series of films. But Batman Dark Knight, you know, it's been voted 3rd best film of all time.
Yeah.
It was massive. I had 8 dogs in that. Really good crew. We trained for about 2 weeks. The crew that I trained, there was 2 or 3 who had to drop out, and I had a couple of new guys come in.
Mm-hmm.
They were all brilliant, really good. A couple of ex-army guys, a couple of security guys, a couple of pet people. The 2 guys who they were in my pet class, they had really good German Shepherds who did speak on command, but they weren't at all aggressive. So that was good because you had to have 2 in the SWAT vans, and everyone was scared of the other dogs because they would have bitten all the extras in the vans. But the 2 that were fairly quiet, they were all stroking them in the vans. When they jumped out, they came out barking. They didn't know why, but in the shot did look really good. Funny story was that you had the director and his assistant director. They were watching the monitor, looking back at a shot that we'd done, and we were looking for one of the guys who has since sadly died. A good friend of mine, trained all 3 of his dogs, and he was a really inquisitive guy, you know. And I said, "Where's Ben? We're getting ready for the next shot. Where's Ben?" And he says, "I think he's over there. Look, what with the dog?" And he was there, you know, looking over the director's shoulder, looking for. And I said, "Ben, could you just come over here? Can you just half off back over here? You know, he doesn't want your opinion." So it was really funny because they're all going, "Who's this guy?" Get the dog trainer to come over. Big set. Got to speak to Christian Bale. Because we had to do a shot with him standing, and he runs off through Gotham City, which is Battersea Power Station, and he runs off, and the dogs go after him. Yeah, another good thing was when I got the job, I used to live in a place called Copel, which is just outside Bedford, near the Cardington hangars where they used to make the big airships and that, and that's where the most of it's filmed. The street scenes, the railway scenes, they're all inside the hangars. And I got the call, and I was on the phone. I was in the garden, and I said to the girl from Warner Brothers, I said, "Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, really happy." I said, I'm looking at the hangars now across the field. I said, "It'd be great. First time ever. I'll literally be able to walk across the field to work." And she goes, "Oh, sorry. Your bit's not at the hangars. Your bit's at Battersea Power Station at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you're going to have to go into central London with 8 dogs." So it couldn't have been the worst location. So it's all right when you get there, but it was, you know, after you've done 12 hours, driving home was pretty bad. And then Harry Potter, that was that was good. Same crew, Warner Brothers. They, what did she say? She said, "Oh yeah, we had 3 Rottweilers, your favourite dogs." So I had a couple of customers who had really nice Rots, and they knew someone who had a Rot, and so we ended up with 4 really ultra friendly. And then we just had to train the actor to hold 4 leads and get dragged down Diagon Alley. And that was all it was. And so how long did that take? 4 days. 4 days to walk from here to that sofa behind me. Literally, dink. I got paid for 4 dogs for 4 days and 4 people and the training and all the rest of it. It was financially, it was very good, but it was so boring.
Yeah.
And can't say too much, but Harry Potter, he smokes. It's really funny because he comes out in his uniform with a fag on.
Really?
Smoking. How old are you, son? I'm actually 23. Shut up.
I had heard I saw him in.
I don't know if he still does.
I saw him in Equus, when he was on the London stage, and you have a completely different view of him.
Yeah. So Trade Secrets, he was fantastic. He came over and spoke to all the people, all the crew. He wanted to meet the dogs, and we were talking about training and the fact that it was at Leavesden, and I'm the guy who does the training down there. And he said, "Oh, we go past there all the time." I said, "Oh, we'll come over and put a sleeve on or whatever." And the director's going, "He ain't putting a sleeve on. You can forget that. He's worth millions. He's not doing anything like that. He can watch the dogs from inside the car." But the girl,
no,
she didn't say anything. Wouldn't say hello. Wouldn't you go morning? Nothing. Walks around with the chaperone. And if you're listening to this, you know the truth. No one liked you. No one liked you.
I don't know if she's one of our listeners or not.
Well, she will be now, I'm on. So she has a chaperone all the time. Walks around like she owns the place.
Wow. And that is so interesting.
Yeah, there's loads of people. If I did a film called Blitz with Jason Statham, who every lady loves, and he was such a nice bloke, absolutely, the best, 100% professional, loves his dogs. All of that stuff's real, by the way, because I put my arm on him. Jesus Christ, he's like a rock.
He does his own stunts, doesn't he?
Yeah, he had a little play with the dogs as well, because we had 2 pit bulls in it. And he loved them. But there's another guy in that film. Again, another one of them. Morning, nothing. So,
Which film?
A film called Blitz.
Okay, I don't think I've seen it. I do. I watch his films a lot.
It's a British thing, Actually, for me, it was the first time I've been on a... Really weird. I'm on a film set. I nearly cried.
Really?
And so, honestly, there was a tear coming to my eye, and it's a bit of a sad story. There's a scene in it because it's all about a guy who goes around London shooting police officers, and there's a scene in it where there's a policewoman walking down a road, and this guy walks up to her and shoots her in the head, and then it starts raining, and so they've got the rain machine. And because it's not raining, there's a big tank of water and it all comes down. And as she goes down, they've got a machine, like a thing on her back, and it pumps blood out the side of her head, like out the side of her back of her head as she hits the floor. And so the rain comes down, and I'm standing just here. She's there on the floor, this policewoman in uniform, and this blood comes out. And I looked across and I saw a hat on the floor. And I remember an incident where a policewoman was shot and the hat was on the floor. Because shortly after that, we tried to train dogs to recover things like a hat. Because one of the policemen ran over and picked her hat up. And he got a severe telling off because he could have been a target, you see. So we trained a police dog then to run out and pick up stuff like a gun or a hat or something like that, which we, thank God, never had to use. But when she did the thing, I went, oh my God. And it just like a little flashback. And there was a guy on the film, and he used to be on the firearms team. I said, you were in the job, weren't you? I can tell the way you're holding that gun. And he goes, yeah, I was on the firearms team. And I said, did you see the hat? He says, oh God, bad, wasn't it? And we were both like this. And we both felt the same thing, you know. It was very sad. But when you've seen it for real as well, you know, and it just brings it back.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So now that I've put the mockers on that one, let's think of something funny.
What about True Lies? Because I can remember putting the image up on Facebook.
Yeah, True Lies was True Lies was. I got invited to that because of other work that I did. So we got invited to the premiere, and that was just one of those things that I was in the right place at the right time, and it was good because you get to say hello. You know, you don't get much more than that, but if you get a handshake, you'd think, Christ, he's a big bloke, and it's not big, but he's big. Yeah, really big.
Did you do any work on that film? I mean, that's one of my favourite all-time films.
No, so there's a lot of things like the James Bond film where we did stuff. GoldenEye, one of the other ones that was at London Coney, where we did a shot of a dog in a cage, and then another company did the shot, you know, because they have to back up everything, and they cut it out. Yeah, there's a scene with a guard dog in it, and we were like this because I went to the GoldenEye premiere, but we again got really quite involved with that because I trained the guys who did all the security for it, and out of that I got another job, which was great. And one of my guys, he used to do working trials, did a search for some car keys. One of the ladies said, I've dropped my car keys over there. So he said, if you go and sit inside, and he did a proper search, found the keys. And then 2 days later, she asked for the security manager to come upstairs, and he got another year's contract because I didn't realize she was from America. She was one of Warner Brothers execs, and said, that dog handler found my car keys. Absolutely brilliant. We'll get you to stay for another year. So he got a year's contract out of it. I think the handler got a bottle of wine or something. But that was good.
What's the most, before we let you go, what's the most interesting or difficult thing you've had to teach a dog to do for film work? And stuff?
In film work?
Because they ask you for
the old go to the toilet one, that's quite hard. They want the dog to, because we did the be quick, where you train the dog to go to the toilet on command, which I'm sure you do as well. Just before you start work, go and be quick, get the dog set up, and then send him off on a search or whatever. And they want you to pee on a guy's leg, and you have to try and do that. Now it's all done in post-production, but back in the day, you try and keep him in the cage as long as you can, make him drink as much as you can, get him out. As soon as he gets out, be quick, be quick. But I did a trick with small bit of urine, and spray it onto the guy's trousers first. So when he comes out and smells it, he pees up his leg, and it worked. But again, you go all the way to London just for that. Working with a kid, that was one of the most difficult. I had a cat and a dog, and it was for a Scandinavian, satellite program. And it was the advert for this new Sat1. We do films, we do this, we do that. So we had to do a lot of different shots, and we had a cat, we had a dog, and one of the shots we had two dogs. One was searching with a light, and one was this little Jack Russell on a sofa, and the kid had some popcorn, and the idea was that he took the popcorn, and then the dog would take some popcorn, and that would be the shot. And it was the dog did it, training, perfect. But no one liked the kid. So because he was a snotty little twat, basically. And so it started off in the morning when the mum came and she said, "Oh, he wants to stroke the cat." No, he wants to stroke the cat. No, we've got a room here. The cat's in the cage. We're going to let it out to go use the cat litter and that. We're going to keep it in there. We're in the middle of London. We're not going to let the cat out because it will just run off. Next thing, director comes, Mick, is it all right if he strokes? The mum's been on at me about him stroking the cat. No, because if he does, it'll run off. And then I'll charge you $2,000 for a cat because it's not my cat. It's a customer's cat. And I'm going to have to tell her it's run off down Piccadilly. So, yeah, you can't stroke the cat. So he gets really in, and he's out of his pram. Anyway, he does the popcorn shot with this Jack Russell. As soon as he puts his hand on the popcorn, the Jack Russell starts growling. And the director goes, Mick? Yeah. He says, that dog don't like that kid, does he? I said, no, he don't. He said, you don't like that kid either, do you? I went, no, I don't. He says, I hate that kid. And then he said, right, that'll do. And we'll do all the rest in post-production. A couple of days later, phone rings. My mate who trains with me says, put the telly on. Casualty. Have a look at Casualty. I said, what am I looking at? He says, look who's on the gurney getting brought into the operating theatre. Oh, it's that kid. I hope he flipping well. I hope he gets it bad. I hope there's something really wrong with him. There's that horrible little film kid with his horrible laugh. Some of them are, it really is. Don't work with dogs and kids, and it really is like that. But the dogs, at least, they're okay.
Yeah.
But the kids,
Brilliant.
terrible.
Fascinating.
Before you go, though, my two favourite articles, are the harness article. Yours, the silly harnesses, and
Thank you.
And it is what it is. It's made for tracking, and there's half a dozen people. There's one now across the road. They've all got harnesses on. What's going on there? And your fur baby story, that one is I think Ross's fur baby story. That's from a while back. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, I used to churn out a fair few, didn't I?
Yeah, that was. I like that because it just says it as it is, and if you put them both together and you've got your fur baby with your harness, the result is probably not going to be that good.
No, well, that's what we get all the time now, isn't it? That's that's how life is.
Yeah, and but trying to explain things, I think. Like I said, it's gone a bit quiet for me at the moment, and I think we're working more on keeping the people that we've got. The people that we've got at the moment, most of them are coming 2-3 years because they like searching. We do a lot of searches. We do scent detection. We do the trials aspect of it. We sort of do a mishmash of field trials and working trials. So we retrieve the dummies, but we also hide stuff. Bit of tracking, all stuff that they're never going to do with their pets. And searching is the big part of it, really. Bit of obedience for warming up, and then always finish with a bit of agility, so they get a variety of what stuff they like to do, and they must like it because they've stayed for a long time. And hopefully we can stay abreast of what we do by staying modern to what we do. I think we can all agree that if you're using, it's get a bit technical, but if you're just into positive punishment, you're on that side. And if you're just into, positive reinforcement, you've got to look at everything, and you can't use just that technique or just that technique. The person who says we never use punishment isn't true to themselves, because do you take the ball off them? Yeah, so you negative punishment. So you're taking something good away from the dog, aren't you? So you technically, if you want to be technical about it and put my behaviourist cap on, you're using punishment. It's not positive punishment, but the other ones probably for me the second most powerful training tool. So you've got your positive reinforcement, and then if you have to, take the ball off them, say the word no, whatever. But a lot of people, even like the dog's home, I said the reason what's this, you can't say no to the dog. You don't have to say no, but you've got to teach no. Like I do a hand feeding technique where I teach the dog leave it, and then we use that out in the real world. But you have to teach that the same way as you would a sit, stand, and a down.
Yeah.
And so, you can stop a dog doing, any fool can stop a dog doing something. Just hit it on the head with a piece of wood. It'll stop straight away. But that's not going to work because it's going to come back at you. Yeah. But if you can hand feed the dog using that technique, then it will learn the word. It will realize that if it leaves it, it gets it anyway, but it doesn't snatch it out of your hand. Leave it. And then you can use leave it later on when you do leave it. And it's done in a quite sympathetic way. I think the problem I have is because I use bad language and I wear black, people think that I have no clue on what behavior is and how it works. And so when I'm lucky enough to talk to guys like yourselves, and you can use terminology that we understand and we know how it works, it's good for me as well, because it's nice to be challenged, myself, and when I read some of your articles, Ross, and you read them and you think, oh, thank God for that. Thank God there's some normality out there. Because sometimes you even question, am I doing that? That's got to be. And then you'll read like Leslie's books, I read I can't remember now which bit it was, but I think I wrote to you about it. And I read that little bit and I thought, again, thank God there's some normality there, rather than this, this stupid names. And there was a lady who wrote a report for someone and she's going, you're pooch this and you're this. And I'm thinking,
no.
God, imagine in your world, you're going out on a shoot. Oh, my pooch, it's got his little, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous, and I've had over 1,000. Well, I always say 1,000 search and track arrests using police dogs, and it's a partnership between you and the dog. And when you've worked in that, and they've saved, one of them has saved my life, proper full-on attack, and I was pretty handy, but without the dog, I probably would have been seriously hurt. And when you've been in that environment and you get this sort of mamby-pamby sort of stuff, you think, oh, God, he just wants to be a dog. Even the smallest, yappiest little dog just wants to go and roll around, on the floor and just go and do dog stuff. He doesn't want to be carried around in a stupid bag. That was another thing. I think you were talking about crushing it or something. I can't remember. There was a story a while ago. But it's good and it's refreshing, and I think as a trainer, it's also good that I get the opportunity to read some of the stuff that you guys have done, because not blowing smoke up your arse, but they're very good.
That's cool. We'll take that.
We will take it. Thank you.
Brilliant. And where can people go to find out more about you, Mick? If they
just Mick Martin on any search site, really, and you'll find something, whether it's good or bad. There's some bad fan stuff, but I quite like it, and people think it's funny. My granddaughter now, it's not even my daughter anymore. My granddaughter thinks it's really weird that I had fans. And you? Yeah, I did. And it was nice because some of them were really. There's 3 girls who were really, really good to me, because I didn't really understand the internet and how it works, and I was getting a bit of crap coming my way, and they just quelled it straight away. One of them was a real internet wizard, and I used to say, look, I've had another one of these. Just leave it with me. And there was the stalker thing once, and that was not so good. They found out where I lived, and it was a guy who, I don't know what he was looking for, but if I thought he was coming near the family, because I remember I trained the Arabs, and so at one time I was, worried about security anyway, and I did live in the middle of nowhere. So some of the military stuff I've done was, working for other governments and that. There's a funny old line there when you don't know if it's just some random thing off the TV or if it's something from the old days. So you got to be careful. And the guys in the pub, they were good, because they said, "Oh, we'd never heard of him." And then one of them came round to tell me, "There's a bloke in the pub asking about you." Mm-hmm. So after the Jill Dando thing, you have to be really careful if you work for the BBC. So you report it, and then they do all the investigations. They look after you really well. I found that weird, because I'm just a bloke from Wolverhampton, and now all of a sudden all this stuff's happening. But it was good. It still is good, It's good that I got a client down in Watford, and she said, "It's good at your age to do such and such." I went, yeah, same age as you, isn't it? And she goes, "Yeah, but you found it after the knee thing. You found a new avenue." And I was abroad once, and we'd finished the job, and we went to stay in a Hilton for a few days, and I was in the beach bar having a Coke, and I thought, blimey, I could still be in the job here, rolling around in the high street at 12 o'clock at night with some kid half my age, twice as fast as I used to be, and here I am, doing this, and that was good. The TV stuff was good, the film stuff was good. So there's a lot there, and the variety of doing training and all those aspects is very good. I could tell you a funny one if you like. So I'm doing a protection job, and it's Charles and Di, and it's pouring down with rain, and I'm getting soaked. I've got earpiece in this with two man, but armed up. And oh God, it's cold. I'm going to go and have a look, see what's happening. And the guy says, "Don't go out there. You're not supposed to go out there. We've got to wait here till they tell us the car's arrived, and then we've just got to watch this bit." No, I'm just going to go out and have a look. "Don't go out there. You're not supposed to go out there. We just got to wait." "I'm going anyway. You wait here." Anyway, I go out, and just as I come out from behind the bush, there's, as was Prince Charles, Di, their bodyguard, the Chief Constable, the Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire, and they're about 3 feet in front of me, and she's right in front of me. And so when you see someone famous, the most famous woman in the world, who's 2 feet in front of you, you can only do one thing. And I went, "Hello." I just made that like a complete imbecile with my mouth open. And the bodyguard went, "I've just described a bodyguard saying a naughty word." And I went, "Oh." And then the chief looked at me and went, "Oh, God." And I went back behind the bush, and I said to the guy with me, "I've just seen them." He goes, "Oh, God, I told you not to go around there." I said, "God, she really is beautiful." She was, and I waved at her. And what did she do? She waved back. And what did the others do? I said, they were quite abusive. Anyway, at the debrief, our boss comes in. He goes, "Which one of you idiots has just waved at the future King of England?" "That'll be you, Martin, you absolute prat. And you can put all the stuff away." And I said it was worth it. "She's really beautiful. She's such an idiot. You're such an idiot. And we gave you a gun." Oh my God, I can't believe it. So there was hundreds of those things. I did do a lot of practical jokes as well and all that stuff. These days, I'm also I volunteer at the hospital. I'm one of those annoying here to help people, but I'm attached to the cardio rehab team, and so we do training for people who have had either some sort of operation, or maybe they've had a problem with their heart, and they go on a 6-week cardio rehab. So on a Tuesday, I get back in the gym, and even that, there's a little exercise with the rubber bands, and they're supposed to do this light exercise where you right arm, left arm, right. So I say, right, what you do is you put the elastics around your hands and hold your fists up, and then throw out your right, and then throw out your left, and then bring your knee up for a knee strike. And the main trainer, the physio, she comes home and says, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing head shots with knee strikes. Just stick to the program. Just stick to the program. He's just had a triple bypass. So I just realised then I should ask them first what procedure they've had before I start doing it too hard. But it is rewarding, for me as well, because I have got a slight heart problem myself. And I've done the cardio rehab program as a patient. And so they do like that, because the guys open up to me. It's like training. It's like being in the training environment. They tell me stuff they don't really want to talk to the nurses about. And like I say, Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays at another hospital. Very rewarding, putting something back.
It's nice, good, isn't it?
That's wonderful. Yeah. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, we had the guy actually who said which one he used, just wait to the king. He was on the program. He just finished last week. And tomorrow we've got another guy, and he sent a massive text because we had a picture on Facebook with the governor last week, and everyone was saying, well done and all that. And it's not about me. It's usually about me. Trust me. It's normally about me. But this is about him doing his rehab, and this guy says, I'm starting Tuesday. Oh, Mick, do you remember as a probationer when I came out with you in your van with Max? And I thought, blimey, Max, that was 1984. And I've got to be honest, I think when I see him, I'll remember, but I don't remember it. And he said, you made me put one of them sleeves on and run down the road. And he says, he came around the front and I fell over and I hit the deck, and he was growling right next to my face, and I put my arm up and he bit my arm. He says, and I remember I had shirt on, a tunic on, a coat, the sleeve. I could still feel him coming through the sleeve. Sleeves weren't that good then. And he said, I heard later on that none of the dog handlers wanted to run for your dog because his bite was so hard. I didn't mention that bit. So he's coming tomorrow. He's had I'm not sure what he's had, but we'll sort him out. He'll do his training. I'll teach him how to do it.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Cool. Well, thank you very much for that, Mick.
My pleasure.
Getting insight into the life of Mick Martin.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. It's not just gun dogs and not just guard dogs, but all things canine, as we hope you have discovered. Please like, share and subscribe, and help us spread a bit of common sense back into dog ownership. And a review wouldn't go amiss either. Catch up with Les and Ross again in about 14 days for more canine conversations. Until next time, stay well and enjoy your dogs. Any dog-related questions or topics, just drop an email to talk@cfba.uk or message us via facebook.com/gundogs and guard dogs podcast.